So today we're diving deep into what's coming down the pipeline in diabetes tech this year. And I'm thrilled to introduce Julie, credentialed diabetes educator and certified insulin pump trainer. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us, spill the tea. What's new in diabetes for 2025?
Oh, there's lots coming out this year. Actually, there's lots of upgrades. There's lots of new tech coming out, and I think it's really exciting for the type 1 diabetes community, what's coming out. So if you want, I'm happy to list a few emerging tech that's coming out over the a few 6 to 12. First of all, obviously we have the G7 that's already out, but you need to buy that. The NDSS subsidy, unfortunately, has been a little bit delayed. It was due out on the 1st of February, but a little bit of a delay in the process. So hopefully that's going to be out the 1st of March, worst case scenario, early April. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Dexcom G7 is a much smaller sensor than the G6. It's still a 10-day wear, but it's an all-in-one transmitter and sensor. So get rid of all that clunky and put in the transmitter on. You get a 12-hour grace period. So once it's finished, you get 12 hours, which is really good for kids who are at school or people who are at work, and the T-slip, it's linked to the T-slim pump and the sensor runs out. You then get 12 hours, so you don't get that automatic shut off. You can silence alerts. So we get up to 6 hours where you can silence all alerts, which is great. So, if you're at a wedding or you're in a really important work meeting and you don't want those alerts going off, great. You can silence them for up to 6 hours, which I think is fantastic because sometimes, diabetes technology is great, but sometimes we don't want the beeping, during those really critical meetings. So that's really we've got that. The G7 will link to the Tandem T slim pump. And it will also link to Omnipod 5, which I'll talk about later because that's another exciting technology that's coming out too. There's a few more predictive alerts in the Dexcom G7 as well, which might help. We've got the urgent low and the predictive high, and you can also turn off some of those predictions as well.
It's really exciting that we're bringing out CGMs that are a little bit less intrusive in your life.
Yes. Yeah. We actually, the Dexcom Ray, the Dexcom Rep at work, we actually got to get one. So I actually have on, which is very, very tiny, as you can see. Very, very tiny. This is an overpatch. It comes with a sensor and it also comes with an overpatch as well. Very, very tiny. You can actually hardly feel it. It is really, it's really impressive.
Are you enjoying the G7?
It looks much better. I think for people with diabetes, I think it's a lot less cumbersome. I can hardly feel it, and I think it's going to be a much better option. And it takes that transmitter away. You've got your sensor for 10 days, and then you've got your transmitter for 3 months, and having it all in one, put it on 10 days, throw it away, and it's a really simple insert. And the best thing is it's a 30-minute warm up, so you're getting away with that 2 hours. It's 30 minutes.
Oh, I know Braden is going to love that because he gets so frustrated with the warm-up time on his CGM. He might be converting to Dexcom this year, maybe.
Yeah. Well, 30 minutes is the shortest warm-up time of any sensor, so really, really good option. And I think if people haven't used CGM before and they want to have a go, you can actually put the CGM in your diabetes educator's office. By the time you've set the app up and fiddled around with it, sometimes you might only have a 10-minute warm-up because the sensor's already inserted. So a really good option, so you can walk out your educator's office, with real-time CGM. So excellent choice.
Wow, what a game changer.
So as of today, as in literally a few hours ago, you can actually now order the Omnipod 5, which is fabulous.
Oh, heard it here first?
Yes, you heard it. The order forms are now online for all healthcare professionals. Pump starts will start though from the 17th of March.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get that Omnipod 5, you need to get in quick because I imagine there'll be quite a big demand Omnipod 5. And again, Insulet have provided a really good, so obviously you can use a private health insurance, but also you can pay as you go as well, which is like insulin pump company. You can actually pay you want to go from the Dash to the Omnipod 5 and you're using health insurance. There's a one-off payment of $249 Insulet, and that's to change basically from the PDM to the controller, which is really good. Otherwise, you can self-fund, and I think it's $185 to Insulet, and then you just pay your $31.55 for your pods to the pharmacy. So it works out around $230 a month for the Omnipod 5.
It's the most accessible pump, I think, particularly if you don't have private health insurance, because who has, a few grand lying around these days?
That's right. And you can try it. So, we've had blood pressures, automated insulin delivery. Really, it's a gold standard. So, we've had the Medtronic, we've had the T-Slim, we've had the CAM APS with the IPSO, and now, Omnipod 5 is now up with the automated insulin delivery systems, which is really good. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic option. I think there's a big demand for the Omnipod 5. But please bear with us, because there'll be a lot of people wanting to swap from the Dash to the 5, and these public healthcare teams are going to be a bit swamped. So I think people might have to be a little bit in how long for the Omnipod 5. Yeah.
And tell me about the difference between the Omnipod PDM and the controller.
Right. So the Omnipod control has got what's called the app on it. So it's very similar to the PDM. It's just a little slightly bit different. You do have your CGM reading on the actual controller. So, with the PDM, you have to actually get your Dexcom app out and actually put your blood glucose level into the PDM. With a controller, it'll already be on. So you'll have a pod, and then you'll have controller, and then have your CGM. Now, with the Omnipod 5, you're going to have a choice of the Dexcom G6, the Dexcom G7, and also later this year, which I'll talk about, is the Libre 2 Plus. So you're going to be able to have a choice of sensor, which is going to be fantastic. With the Libre 2 Plus, you'll actually be able to start your sensor through the controller with the Libre 2 Plus. You'll be able to do the alerts through the controller. With the Dexcom G6 and the Dexcom G7, you're going to have to start the sensor through the actual app itself. So that's a little bit different, and that's something to... So it's an adaptive algorithm. So it works on your total daily dose of insulin. It's an adaptive basal rate. So the first pod that you start is quite conservative. And then as you add more pods on, it begins to learn your patterns, and it'll adapt to those patterns as well.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So the first one is a little bit conservative, which is what you want it to be. You don't want people, put people on an Omnipod and suddenly, have lots of hypos and stuff. So it's a little bit more conservative. And then as it goes on, more time it adapts to you. So, if you have a little different routine at weekends than weekdays, it's going to adapt, which is really good. So you've got some customizable targets. The target is the main feature in the algorithm, and the algorithm is called Smart Adjust, not to be confused with Smart Guard with the Medtronic. So we're going to make sure it's Smart Adjust and not Smart Guard. So it's Smart Adjust. So the minimum is 6.1 to 8.3. So that goes up in millimoles. So you can have 6.1, 6.7, 7.3, 7.9, and 8.3. So for those people who may be a little insulin sensitive during the day, they're quite active, they can actually have a higher target during the day. And you can actually set up to 8 targets. So, a really low target overnight when you're sleeping and, we're not doing much, there's not much happening, we can have a nice low target at night. And then during the day, when we're a bit more active, we might be running around, we might be at the gym, or kids might be at school, we can have a bit of a higher target. Now, it's called a hybrid closed-loop system because we still do have to do a few things, like it can't yet predict the teenage brain, or it can't predict the stop days. We have to announce carbohydrate. So we pump when we're eating. So we do have to count our carbs. And we also need to tell when we're exercising. So there is an activity feature on the Omnipod 5. So that takes your target to 8.3, and you can actually set that for a number of hours as well, which is really good. So although it's great, we still have to do a few little tweaks in the background to keep that, algorithm running.
Well, we're certainly getting closer to a hands-off approach, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. And I think, we're looking at all the insulin pump companies later, what they're working on, and they're working on the no carb announcement. So not quite the fully with the glucagon, but certainly no carb announcement. And, people in the open source community are actually doing that now with their facilities. Commercially, not yet available, but CAM-APS are working on a fully closed-loop system. So are Medtronic, and I think so are Tandem T as well. So that's all their research and trials are looking towards that fully closed-loop system, because we know type 1 diabetes it's one of the most challenging conditions to manage. Realistically, it's 24/7, it's 7 days a week. So anything that's going to help that burden, it's going to be fantastic. So I think in 4 or 5 years, hopefully, we're going to have a system where you're going to put a pump on and you're basically going to go about your daily business. And then, that's going to be really good.
It really does feel like it's getting so much closer. Like we heard when a lot of people are diagnosed 10 or 20 years ago being told, there's a cure coming in 5 years, five years. Now I do actually believe that there is a hands-off diabetes management system coming in 5 years.
I do too. And I totally agree with you. I think nearly everybody I've spoken to says, when they get diagnosed, the endocrinologist says, there's going to be a cure in 5 years. And this endocrinologist, I think, said this in 1950, and he's still saying it in 2024. I think if you look over the last 2 to even 3 years, the amount of commercial hybrid closed-loop systems that have come on, is fantastic. And the amount of burden that is reduced for people with type 1 diabetes is immense. I mean, we still have this, key skills. We still have to change our CGM. We still have to make that our pump sites are changed. There's a few key things that we have to do, but I think it's certainly, reduce the amount of burden. And I often say to people, we don't want to live with a diabetes mammoth. Nobody wants to live with a diabetes mammoth. We want to live with a diabetes mouse. So that mouse is down there, and it squeaks when we need a pump site change, but it squeaks, when we need to change our CGM. But we do those, and then we put that mouse, and we get on, and we live our life. We spend a minimum amount of time on diabetes-related tasks.
That's the dream.
Which,
That's the goal. So tell me about the upgrade that the Freestyle Libre is getting this year.
Yes, we're going to have the Freestyle Libre 2 Plus. I'm a little bit disappointed we haven't gone straight to the Freestyle Libre 3 because that is out in Europe and it's out, and it's a bit frustrating that we're still that little bit behind. So the Freestyle Libre 2 is still the same size as the Freestyle Libre, smaller. The Freestyle Libre 3 is a little bit small, but it's 15 days. So you get 15-day wear, which is the longest in the CGM. So if you're using it in something like the Omnipod 5, when it just get released, 15 days, that does coincide with the Omnipod change as well, which is really good. So that's going to be a really handy feature. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed we haven't quite got the Libre 3 out yet. But hopefully, Libre 2 Plus, and then it comes on to Libre 3, so that'll be good. Yeah. You do receive your glucose readings so some of the other systems you're receiving your glucose readings every 5 minutes, but you are getting it every 1 minute on the Freestyle Libre 2. And it also, it also links with Nova Pen 6 as well. People who are on MDI, you can actually scan the Freestyle Libre with your Nova Pen 6 and get all the information.
Oh, that's a cool integration.
Yeah. So for people who are MDI, you want to know what they've had, what carbohydrates they've had, what bolus doses they've had, and insulin on board.
And we can feel so much further away in Australia when we talk about tech and research because we are quite a significant amount of time behind, right?
We are quite a significant time. And I think it's quite frustrating when you see all these technologies that are coming out, in America, they've got a lot more sort of technology that we have, and we're probably not going to get. It's a little, frustrating. We've also got the T Slim. We've got a bit of an update to the T Slim. We're going to have the T Connect app, which is a remote bolus from the T Slim. So I believe that is coming out in the next few months, maybe. So that'll just require a software update to your T Slim. Most of them the new T Slims are coming with this software already. But if you've got an older T Slim, you just need to open that software. That's going to be really good. So you can actually bolus from your phone. You can see some pump data from your phone. You can't, however, you can't or suspend insulin from the phone. You're going to do that through the pump. And you can't change any of your profiles through the mobile phone app. You have to actually go back into the pump and change your profiles. But being able to bolus from your phone is a bit of a game changer, I think, in type 1 diabetes. So having that T Connect app. And another beauty is it's going to automatically upload. So for those people, starting a T Slim, and you have to upload the T Slim twice a week for the healthcare professionals to have a look at the data, which, it's a bit of a pain sometimes to have to plug it into the computer and upload the data and stuff. It's going to be upload. So good for healthcare professionals as well, because we're going to be able to see that data instantly without having to get families, plug their T Slim in, which is going to be good.
And I love just stepping towards making things that little bit easier, and being able to bolus on your phone means it's just that little bit more discreet.
It is. It is very discreet, and I think that's from all ages, from parents who have toddlers, that they're not running after them, and they're not grabbing them when they're playing and trying to find the pump, and then in the middle of the night pulling the sheets back, trying to find a pump, trying to unlock the pump, and then trying to having a mobile phone and being able to bolus, or do any adjustments to the insulin pump through a mobile phone is a game changer. Teenagers, fantastic. Teenagers, they're on the phone all the time. So I said to my teenagers, real easy. And then older people, people who are out and dinner with friends, they don't want to get the pump out. They just get the phone out discreetly, add the carbohydrates, press deliver, and then, they've given, which is really good.
Yeah, it's going to be a bolus in between TikTok scrolls.
That's right.
Tell me, is there anything fun coming in Medtronic land this year?
So just a new sensor. So we've got the Simplera sensor, which is just a standalone sensor. That is going to link to the Medtronic 780, which is going to be awesome. So anyone who wears a Medtronic knows we've got the 7-day sensor, and then we've got the transmitter that lasts a year. The transmitter needs charging every 10 minutes, and then every time you change your sensor. So it's going to be an all-in-one, a bit like the Libre and the Dexcom 7, an all-in-one sensor. Last 7 days. So that's going to be really good because you're going to have your 7-day infusion set, your 7-day sensor. So it's going to be once a week. You do all your diabetes pump tasks, which is going to be great.
That is going to be great when everything lines up, because then you're just spending less time constantly changing all these different bits and bobs.
That's it. And you know, on a Sunday night that your sensor needs changing, that your insulin needs changing, that your pump site needs changing. It's all done in one day, which is really good.
Yeah, we love a diabetes routine.
Yeah.
Is there anything else coming out this year that you're really excited about?
No, I think the IPSO with the CAM APS, I know it's on Android, and the biggest question is when's CAM APS FX coming on Apple? It sort of, I've seen the CAM APS FX on an Apple phone with one of the developers from the UK. I think it'll be rolled out in one country in Europe, and that's just to iron out any bugs within that Apple app. So once that's all been approved, I think then we'll hopefully over here. So it'll give you a choice of Android or Apple, because I know some don't like Android. They're either an Android or they're an Apple user. So it sometimes puts people off choosing a really good insulin pump in an algorithm if you've only got an Android. So
particularly when we're an Apple country, you know, there's more apps here than there are Android.
Yeah. And then we have the Dexcom One Plus, which people might not know, but that's very similar to the Dexcom G7. It's a 10-day where you get alerts, but it's mainly for people with type 2 diabetes, and it doesn't link to any of the insulin pumps, but it is going to be available for a cost of, I think, $65 a sensor, which is quite reasonable. If somebody 2 weeks worth of data before they see the endocrinologist, I think it's going to be a good option. And I did hear a little on the grapevine that it may possibly, towards the end of the year, be subsidized for people with type 2 diabetes on insulin. So that could be another good thing as well.
That's exciting. Again, something else that's come out of that diabetes inquiry from 2024 is just a push towards access to technology for more people.
That's right. And access for everybody. No matter where you live, no matter what, you'd have that access.
It is going to be such a game changer. So thinking about the year ahead, we've talked about things we know are going to happen, but do you have any predictions for 2025 or anything that you think is going to have the biggest impact on people's daily diabetes management?
It's just, I think the Omnipod 5, I think is definitely going to be the biggest feature, because you've got to choose like hybrid closed loop pump now. So I think in Australia, I think that is going to be the biggest thing that's going to happen. Trials and stuff going on. So I know there's a needle-free insulin being developed from an international team from the Sydney University. So they're working on developing an oral insulin, which offer like a needle-free insulin in the future. And it's sort of new tech, and it encapsulates the insulin into like a nano carrier type thing. And you can either have as a tablet, or when they did trials in baboons, they actually put it in chocolate. So the animal trials are now complete, and scientists are now ready to trial the insulin on humans in 2025. A little bit a while away, but certainly a novel way of giving insulin, because, you know, at the moment we've only got injections.
Oh, we could be having little chocolate tablets.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
What a dream, yeah. I just imagine all the parents who are just, you know, fingers crossed, hoping, waiting for that to come out.
That's right. Have a bit of chocolate. A little bit high, have a little bit of chocolate.
Oh, just the mental gymnastics that I think people would have to go through for that as well.
That's right.
I'm high, I need to eat some chocolate. That's exciting to look forward to. There is so much research coming through, and in November we saw the federal government pledge the largest donation that we've seen JDRF Australia receive, which was really exciting, and that is going to go to some really exciting research over the next 4 years.
And now I'm hoping, obviously, down the track we're going to get AI, you know, automated insulin delivery for every person with type 1 diabetes. Like in the UK, you know, Pathika rolled that out in the UK, and that's on a 5-year rollout plan. And I believe New Zealand as well have just rolled out late last year, only with a certain number of insulin pumps, but they have rolled that out. So fingers crossed, you never know what could happen this year. Hopefully we might get AID for every person with type 1 diabetes. Yeah, would be fantastic.
I think that's going to be my prediction. I think we're going to see the NDSS really expand to include access for a lot more people.
Fingers crossed. I do think that is where we're going. Hopefully end of year. Who knows?
Hopefully, because it always really breaks my heart every time I need to respond to an email from a new customer explaining that I'm so sorry we can't give you these subsidized CGM
Yeah,
products or insulin pump products.
yeah. And they're so expensive. If you haven't got private health insurance, it is so expensive for an insulin pump, and even private health insurance. I mean, you don't need to have top private health insurance to access an insulin pump. There are certain companies that do. You do need to have insulin cover for insulin pumps, but you certainly don't need top cover. But it's still sometimes, out of the margin, particularly for, young adults who maybe 23, 24, they've just left university, they've got their first job. The priority isn't, paying for private health insurance, like, working towards getting a house or working towards, getting some financial security. So it is a big ask. So I think if you're able to get that subsidized, and at the end of the day, ultimately it's going to benefit everybody because people aren't going to have long-term complications because they're accessing the best technology that's available.
I'm just going to have a healthier country at the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, I wanted to ask you, obviously at the start of the year, we all set goals and set intentions for the year, but we want to make sure that those goals and intentions are realistic and we're not setting ourselves up for failure. So we wanted to ask your advice and your opinion about setting realistic diabetes habits for the year, and what can people do if they might have particular goals in mind about how to action them?
Yeah. Start small. It takes time to create a new habit. So if you wake up on New Year's Day and you say, I know I want to get fit, so I'm going to run 3 to 4 times a week at 5 a.m. You can guarantee by the middle of January, that's probably not quite achievable, especially if you haven't done any running before. So we've got to start small. We've got to start, really realistic goals. So for that person who wants to start running, maybe twice a week, they run in the block, which may be 500 meters. And then the next week, they might build up to doing it 3 times. And once they've created that habit, then they can build up slowly to a more, longer distance and maybe have a goal, such as, say, doing park run, which is 5K every Saturday. So maybe having that small, realistic goals. You can't expect to just go, right, I'm going to pre-bolus every single meal and I'm going to bolus every single meal if I have type 1 diabetes. Because, nobody's perfect. We can't expect perfection. We've got to be kind to ourselves. And, and if we do, set ourselves a goal and we don't achieve them, then, it's just a little bit of a setback. As long as, we can't expect that perfection. So if we say, okay, we haven't bolused today, but tomorrow we can start again. You can always start the next day. So rather than give up completely, just take that small, realistic step when you're setting goals. Because sometimes I think if we take too much on, it's going to be very hard to achieve those goals.
I love those tips, particularly the idea of a new day is a new opportunity to start again, instead of waiting for the start of a new week or the start of a new month. Just the start of a new hour, the start of a new day.
That's it. There's no point going, beating about your butt, and be kind to yourself. And if you do meet those goals, go and treat yourself. You've achieved something, so have a pat on the back, and you've done a great job. And go out and treat yourself.
Love it. Absolutely love it that we can treat
ourselves.
That's
right. Well, if it's good enough for the baboons, it's good enough for the adults.
Yep, I've got a low bar. But it's been so lovely chatting to you, Julie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley,
for joining us on the Strip Pod. And we will leave your details in the show notes if anyone wants to get in touch with you.
Thank you. No problem. Lovely speaking to you.